Okay, this is the December 2nd, 2014 meeting of the Raleigh Conservation Commission. This meeting of the Raleigh Conservation Commission is hereby called to order under authority of Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Town of Raleigh Wetlands Protection Bylaw, and the Stormwater Management and Erosion Control Bylaw. I will now call for attendance, or the roll for attendance. Dave Delmonico.
Here.
Bob Garner.
Here.
Judy Keys. Sam Strife.
Here.
Arthur Page.
Here.
Kurt Turner.
Here.
Doug Watson.
Here.
Chairman, and we have a quorum present, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Do you have anything administrative?
Yes. Not too much, but a request for my cell phone allowance for the month of November. And you could initial backup receipt. Invoice, I should say. Thank you.
Tom's wife's name is
Cynthia.
Cynthia. Yeah. I knew it was C, but I couldn't think of anything except Christine. That's not it.
That's amazing. Sometimes the question whose name, what the person's name was, and I got it right both times. I kind of meant,
Yeah.
oh, don't count on that.
Haven't lost the fastball yet, huh?
All right. Twiddle that thumbs.
Well,
What's that?
I'm waiting to be cued or whatever.
Anything else administrative? That's it. There's always something else.
Right, well, just verbally, I attended last week's selectmen's meeting and requested authorization to see if we could get Merrimack Valley Planning Commission to finish revisions of the Hunsley Hills Trail map. That received approval, is ongoing. Also requested guidance on what to do to proceed in regards to the open space draft update due to the state's comments, and was directed to seek quote and estimate of time from Millie Aikenhead, who previously served as a consultant for the system in the preparation of that document. Just wanted to let you know that had happened, occurred. And other than that, the regulatory revisions have been promulgated for October 24th. And the commission should probably anticipate having a discussion at our January meeting in regards to revised verbiage in the minor activities section where they've now included soil evaluations. And the question is whether the commission wants to locally still seek filing for soil evaluations, which we might possibly be able to do under the bylaw, or whether the commission may want to discuss the possibility of seeking a town warrant article and changing the wetlands bylaw to put in an administrative approval option for such things as soil evaluations, as well as maybe finally addressing the inconsistencies in the fee structure that was originally codified
Right.
in the first bylaw.
That's a good idea.
Most communities and bylaws and ordinances, both cities and towns, don't have a codified portion of the ordinance or bylaw that specifically sets the fee structure. They do that on a basis of the commission having public hearings and being able to revise it. State does the same thing. They move it out of, it's not in the Wetlands Protection Act itself, it's in the regulations.
But we don't have any regulations, do we? Under the bylaw?
No, but that doesn't mean that we can't.
Start.
But we make that the
We
first
always, the
No. It would be less
bylaw
cumbersome.
has always given
Yeah.
the commission the
Right.
ability to promulgate regulations, and there wouldn't be,
As things stand, the only way we could change the fee structure is by warrant, right?
That is correct.
Yeah, which is a cumbersome way to change something like that.
right.
Yeah.
Take forever.
It'd take forever, and it might just, it might be a totally non-controversial change, and yet we'd still have to do that.
Well, I think, like anything, I think you could, first off, make a very practical and valid argument for moving them out of the bylaw itself in order to provide some flexibility and be able to administer them equitably, but also with the contemplation of putting in an administrative process, so people have an avenue for getting approval for certain activities without going through an actual application permitting process. I think that, might prove a positive aspect, where I don't really know how the populace would perceive the ability to modify the fee structure, but most of the other town boards, well, obviously the Board of Health that I work with has the ability to modify and set their fees
Right.
without going through town warrant articles, so it's not an exercise that is foreign to
Right.
other town boards or commissions. It would certainly provide more flexibility, and it would also be able to assure the town an equitable compensation for staff time that gets involved in review and processing of various applications.
Oops, sorry.
All right.
That's
Anything else?
that's basically it.
Okay. And if the record can reflect that Member Keys has a right membership. So shall we move on to the 7:45 item?
Yep.
Are we ready here?
Yep.
So this is the 7:45 item on the agenda. A new request to determine applicability for 100 Warehouse Lane, map 26, parcel 6, owned by Town of Raleigh, and this is the legal notice. In accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, General Laws 131, Section 40, as amended in the Town of Raleigh Wetlands Protection Bylaw, a public hearing will be held on Tuesday, December 2nd, 2014, at 7:45 p.m. at the Town Hall Annex, 39 Central Street, to consider a request for determination of applicability application filed by Mr. Bill Demento, Harbor Master, for proposed repairs of the town wharf whaler, capping, and pilings, all possibly within the 200-foot riverfront area of the Raleigh River, land subject to coastal storm flowage, and bank at 100 Warehouse Lane, map 26, parcel 6 in Raleigh.
President, ready to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Welcome. And we have a memo on this.
Before getting into the memo, Mr. Chairman,
Yep.
may I request that Mr. Demento just briefly explain, and maybe you could
Sure.
utilize
Yep.
some of the pictures to just point out the pieces or components of the wharf that are.
Sure.
And Bill, you've seen this memo?
Yes,
Yeah,
I
okay.
got a copy of it today. That's what you sent out today?
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, so go ahead.
Okay.
Good evening, all.
Maybe.
The spot that we're talking about is this area right here, which is known as the Raleigh Town Wharf. The docks that come out off of this service the harbor rescue and patrol boat and the shellfish constable's boat. This was, I don't know exactly what year we had it reconstructed. It was originally built back around 1950, and we had it reconstructed over 20 years ago. And the top cap has pretty much rotted away. Hindsight 2020, we probably should have worked it out as some form of pressure treated, but then again, maybe just as well we didn't, because back then the pressure treated contained
Copper arsenic.
arsenic, yeah, bad stuff. This was actually made out of rough cut oak, and the oak, they call it a whaler, W-A-L-E-R. I'd never heard of it till just recently. Has rotted away and is actually becoming a structural problem. So want to replace that and also put a new cap over it. So the goal here is to remove this, to rebolt a new 8x8. It'll be pressure treated but non-copper arsenate containing.
Right, they use the,
CCA marine treated.
well, if it's CCA, then it's got the arsenic.
No, it's the
in it, So I
non-arsenic.
think it's the other one.
Yeah.
I think it's the quaternary, copper quaternary salts or something like that.
Yeah. But we know we've specified in the bid process that it not contain any of the bad stuff. So that's the goal, is to replace that whaler cap and the cap on top of that, and we're also going to do a little bit of sealing on the top of the pilings that exist. The only pilings that rotted were up here on the dry land, just up above the high tide mark, and
Yeah, I took that picture because I wanted to verify with you that in fact,
you can see the
those
base.
three, because I was confused because the end doesn't seem to terminate in anything.
The end actually had one, it's rotted off and fallen away.
Oh, so that's what that
That's-
gap is there?
That's what that gap is
So,
there.
okay, so it's just the two in that picture
Two.
and then this
And
one?
then this one.
Okay.
That will be replaced. Everything else is fine. And,
So that's probably because that's between low water and high water?
right, mostly fresh water, and it's just dry rot.
Yep.
The pilings are actually in good shape down along the edge of the wharf here.
Okay.
So, the wharf itself, the main structure you can see here, Ed Boyle out of Newry actually was the one that built it, and he put good footings in, and he's tied it back in with 1-inch threaded rod back into the footings, so it's stood up very well. The pilings are all in great shape, and he used special tongue and groove boards here that are standing up very, very well. We had a repair done last winter, and those boards were in great shape. So just the cap, and there's an 8x8 whaler that comes down underneath the cap that would be replaced.
Whaler, huh?
W-A-L-E-R.
That's gonna be my only question for you is, why is it called that? You don't know. That's just what they call it.
Well, I actually looked it up and found it, and I didn't find any reason why they named it the whaler, but
Gets beat upon by the ropes, maybe that's,
yeah, maybe.
wailing away at it.
All right.
The conditions in the memo, as I recall, they look pretty identical to the ones we used in, it was just last year. that we
Just last year.
approved this last,
Yeah.
yeah, right.
Yeah, there was damage
Except
done.
for,
Except for,
one slight change, and
Okay.
that would be actually installing either wattle or silt sock from here
Mhm.
and looping it up so that when they're pulling and redriving the posts, any disturbed soils won't have the ability to migrate down into the.
Sure.
okay.
I did leave the restriction about 2 hours prior and 2 hours after low tide, but that might not be as critical now that I understand.
Yeah.
They're further away from
Yeah, I would, because if it's those three, not the next three, then, yeah.
Yeah. every time
It's hard for me to tell when something isn't there, how
No, I
how
know.
bad a shape it is.
Yeah.
And so that's why I took the picture and wanted to ask him tonight, whether, was there supposed to be one here or not?
I really got to check, it's gone.
Yeah, you can see some of them. Up at this high end, where most of the fresh water launch has occurred, the salt water has actually pickled the rest of it pretty well. So, yeah, I would suggest that we not put a limitation on.
Okay, then
the
we can just vote to remove that.
I think
hours
that's
outside.
fine. Anybody have any concern about that?
That makes sense.
All the work's gonna be done from on top, up
Up top
top.
anyway, yeah.
But this would still have that small piece of erosion control established.
Yes, oh, yeah. Yeah,
Which is,
I would-
again, just pragmatic because of
That makes sense.
working in the dirt there.
Absolutely.
You can probably skip two, which is fill used in connection with the project. Doesn't sound like there'll be any fill.
Well,
I suppose you
I
might
actually
fill around
just,
the pilings.
yeah, I just left that in there
Now that I
just
think
in
about it.
case they needed anything to dress anything or something,
Hmm.
you know, just,
Because you're replacing.
it's not
pilings.
it's not gonna hurt anything
No, right.
by it being in there.
Yep.
Because if they don't get, I mean, even if they do need some fill, or if they don't need some fill, we want it to be clean anyway.
Oh, yeah.
so.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, you're right. Okay. Makes sense.
No, I read through your conditions, I thought they were fine, and you already suggested to remove the high tide or 2 hours before and 2 hours after, which I think would be helpful for the.
Well, yes,
crew.
like I said,
Yeah.
that's
But
why
everything else
I
is fine?
presented those two images tonight, so you could clarify that.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments by commissioners? Members of the public wish to be heard? In that case, I think we would want to vote to close the hearing and issue a negative determination, option number 3. Yeah. With the conditions
Yes.
stated.
Minus,
It's minus item A. Yeah.
yes,
Minus, okay. And do I have a motion?
So move.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And all against? And the motion carries. Thank you both.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, and we'll let you know when things are about to get underway, and
yes.
we'll stay in touch like we did over the past winter,
Yep.
working on the other projects on the repair, so thank you. Appreciate
Thank
your
you.
help, Brent.
Thanks for coming in.
Okay.
You're welcome, Bill. Oh, and Bill,
Yeah.
I had a conversation with a certain party in regards to those boats, and the boats have been
Okay.
relocated.
Okay.
They were just temporarily there.
And did you, by any chance, look at the back bound? I haven't.
I've got to,
Okay.
I haven't forgotten that. I will-
Okay, because
I
it
will
would be
be-
nice to have a line of sight, and that way we can
Well,
put
anyway,
it behind
but,
us.
yeah, the immediate issue has been appropriately addressed.
Perfect,
in
thank you.
In a very friendly and rational manner.
Yeah, he's doing all right that way, seems to be anyway, so, thank you.
Yeah, I remember you showed me, yeah, on conservation land, just.
I don't remember that we ever approved that dock.
The whole wharf, you mean? You mean the dock out of the wharf?
We may have, but I don't remember.
You did, it was before my time.
Yeah.
Try this one. And I don't think we approved any extensions. As long as we're leaving it.
Well, that, I think was absolutely the case.
Okay, in regards to the agenda item
For 8 o'clock.
for 8 o'clock.
The 8 o'clock agenda item, continued notice of intent, 56 Newburyport Turnpike, which is also before planning, and I think we have a request to continue it again. This is a email from Liz Dupre of Clearwater Environmental, Brent, dated today. Dear Brent, please do consider this a formal request that the commission grant a continuance on behalf of the applicant for the property, at 56 Newburyport Turnpike Road. We continue to remain in the process of addressing the items identified by the planning board and their agent. Hence, no final plan can be submitted, only interim and unresolved revisions. Therefore, we would be pleased if the RCC is of the opinion that it is prudent to allow a continuance of the application until the technical review through the planning department concludes. That's a wordy way of saying that.
was.
A little wordier
Well,
than
that's-
it usually is.
That's because the first email to your agent said something to the effect that,
Oh, I see.
well, the commission should continue this because they can't make a decision on it. And I said, wait, hold it, time out here. No. You're in front of the planning board, but at any time, if the commission wants to, they don't have to grant a continuance. They could make a decision and just say, well, we haven't gotten adequate information in order
I see.
to protect the resource
Yeah, right.
areas.
Well, she said it right the second time.
Yeah.
I have a motion to continue said hearing.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
What did she just wanted, 3 weeks? Just, oh, it's gonna be.
Well,
four.
actually, it
It's
has to
gonna
go
be
to
four.
January 6th.
Yeah, okay, so just to
Because of the
January
holidays.
6th, okay. There was a motion, is there a second?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all in favor?
Aye.
All against? The motion carries, so it'll be on January 6th if planning has finished their.
They're getting there, they're working through things.
I know, we keep seeing this.
I thought we were meeting January 7th. Oh, that's last year.
This year.
You just throw that. It's gonna throw you off.
You must be used to those.
Yeah. Let's use 10 words where 5 will do. Let's see, you ready on?
Yeah,
August
8:05.
8:05, it's you. 8:05 matter, a new request for certificate of compliance at 151 Stackyard Road, map 37 parcel, lot 15, Bobby Chancroca, former owner Barry Wilder. And let's see.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Keys, do you wish to recuse yourself?
Thanks for the reminder. So this was before us not very long ago, and I think, I don't know, yes, you did write a memo, okay.
Yes.
Bobby, have you seen the memo?
No, I just did it just 2 minutes before the meeting
Want a copy?
tonight.
I was trying to decide that, actually. It's funny, Sid.
So.
I didn't have time to proof this at all, so I
That's-
apologize if
no,
there's
that's okay to me.
faux pas or something else in it.
So the gist of the memo, as I read it, is that everything is copacetic as it should be, except, of course, because of the season, the vegetative cover has not been established and will not be until next spring. So, is there anything you want to add, Bobby?
Nope, all I know is that I have an agreement with the installer that he's gonna reseed it first thing in the springtime.
Okay, all right.
Bobby, I did speak to Mr. Colby, and they'll be cutting on the 11th.
That's
barring
right, I
any
heard that
coastal-
also.
Yeah, barring any coastal storms, so. But, I mean, it's just been a bad year for hay, you know?
Thank you very much.
Anything you want to add to your memo,
No,
Brett?
recommendation for consideration of issuing a partial.
So it'd be a motion to issue a partial certificate of compliance with the stated ongoing conditions stating that the installation of the sewage disposal system and associated work is complete, and that only the establishment of the vegetative cover lawn has not been accomplished. Is there a motion?
So move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Motion carries. All set. Just, you know, when the guy comes next spring, when it seems established, just give Brent a call and
Correct.
come out and,
And then I have to reapply again?
no. No.
Yeah.
Well, you just have to let us know,
Just
yeah.
let us know.
Yeah,
Okay,
we
and-
just do, you and I will fill out a request for a certificate of
Yeah.
compliance, it'll be fine.
Right.
Yeah, you don't have to come back.
I don't have to come back, but the engineer was wondering he doesn't have to come back either.
No, definitely not.
Nope.
His part of the deal is all done.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. You're welcome to come back. We always like to see
Oh,
you.
no, thank you. See you later.
That was how quick he was with that. It did have a fire, but it was very superficial. It was just bathroom fixture, light on it or something like that, or towel. Bobby had a small fire
At the,
at this location.
Yeah.
Oh, at this location, really?
Yeah. And it was, my understanding was that it was just superficial.
Yeah, it was out before the fire department got there.
Yeah.
So there's somebody home when it happened?
Yes,
Yeah.
fortunately.
Yeah.
For the next agenda item, yep, Mr.
Okay.
Cronenberg is here.
All right, this is,
You should have in your packets, I'm sorry, his email.
if it's email, and then we also have, I believe, associated with the same question, a copy of page 7 of the Hunsley Hills Land Use and Management Plan.
It reflects the restrictions on the Hundred Hills Plan.
Right. So let me just introduce it, and you can come forward if you'd like, Mr. Sternberg. This is the 820 item, a new request for permission to explore use with metal detection equipment on the Smith Lane Conservation Area, 467 Haverhill Street, map 13, parcel lot 14, and the Hunsley Hills Conservation Area, 544-560 Haverhill Street, map 8, parcel / lot 2. And as mentioned, we have a letter from Mr. Cronenberg, who's here with us today, dated November 17th, in essence asking for permission to use metal detection equipment while on town land at the Hunsley Hills property and also apparently at the Smith Road conservation land. So just to give the commission some background, when this letter came in, at my suggestion, Brent sent it over to the selectmen to see if the selectmen thought that it was more within their purview than ours.
Well, it went to them first.
Oh, it went to them first?
Yeah,
Oh, it is.
technically,
It's addressed to
yeah.
Amy Leiden, that's right.
Right.
They concluded that because it was conservation land that's in question, it should come before us, so that's what brings you here. So, go ahead, whatever you'd like to add to your letter.
Yeah, that's pretty much the main point.
Sit down if you want.
Okay. It's a mainly, it's one of my hobbies first and foremost. I love history, I love researching things, and I think also it might be a great opportunity to uncover something that the town might want to hold on to. And Yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it.
So if you, that was a question that occurred to me, is if you found something of historical interest,
Yes.
you're,
Well, I'm a geology student at Salem State,
Okay.
and I'd love to find something of some historical importance and then research it and make it my senior research, depending on what, if any, I find. So it's all dependent on actually finding something.
yeah.
But as regards on what to do with whatever I find has no importance to me, as long as it's preserved in the
Okay.
right manner.
Comments by commissioners, questions?
I guess I have a question too relative to, I don't have any problems with Hunsley Hills, but you're talking about Smith Lane, you're talking about the Girl Scout property?
I believe it's the property behind, or close to behind where the police station is.
You know, Smith Lane goes all the way through the Girl Scout property.
Okay.
Yeah.
And until
With the cell
Until
tower.
that gets formally purchased by the town, and I think you have to limit yourself to the Smith Lane portion that is to the south of the Girl Scout property, which is behind the police station and the recreation area.
Mhm.
Right, the map in block he gives actually references the conservation land that is already under the custody and care and was given to the commission. I don't exactly know when, but prior to my service to the town. It's the property that you carved out the small lease holdings for the communications cell tower
Right.
that was established there.
Yep.
Speaking for myself, when the town does finalize the Girl Scout land, I'd be happy to consider a new request for that. I can't speak for the rest of the commission on that, but I did lose a wedding ring over this type of particular.
And if I found it, I'd be more than happy to return it to you.
But it's behind one of the outbuildings of the Girl Scout property.
Of course, if you knew where it was.
Well, I'm very persistent, and I have received access from some private landowners, and I haven't received any complaints yet. They're even, digging some areas in their front lawn, and they can't even tell I was there after. Very meticulous, and I love to categorize everything I find and for future reference.
Well, it was a bone of contention between my wife and I that I never got another one for a number of years.
Well, you still may not have to,
Well, I did finally.
Well, you'd be a hero if you find it. It seems to me, looking at the land use and management plan, this fits within the passive recreation that's an allowed use, a low impact use. It doesn't seem to me it's significantly different than hiking, cross-country skiing, horseback riding, maybe even a little lower impact than, say, horseback riding or mountain biking.
I would agree. Yep.
You can't be on property without affecting it a little bit, but this is a pretty minimal effect. So I think it's within the, in my opinion, it's within the allowed uses. Anybody else have any thoughts on that? I think that's really the only question that we have to answer here, is it a permitted use? The other one that I brought up, but I think it's really more a question for the selectmen, is whether there's any possible liability by allowing a specific use, but I don't know. My thought is no, that it's no different than anyone else who goes on there, and it's a recreational use. It doesn't create any liability for the town, so.
As long as the town is not charging for it or receiving anything for it, any activity is
Yep.
excluded from liability.
That's right.
Well, actually, I think technically, because I was looking into this, having coordinated a number of Boy Scout projects, et cetera, and stuff, this is not something that the Conservation Commission or the Open Space Committee is initiating. We did not go out and solicit Mr. Cronenberg to engage in this activity. If we had, or solicited volunteers, then we do have a liability waiver that we have been advised to use for that, but I think that's the big difference here, is that Mr. Cronenberg is initiating. May I also speak to another
Yep.
concern that I had?
Sure.
And the two properties that you mentioned, I have fleeting familiarity with the Smith Lane property, but I have much more extensive familiarity with Hunsley Hills property. And to my knowledge, neither of those properties have the boundary marked.
Mm-hmm.
We have no ability to do that particular type of project at this point in time, but it is contemplated in the future. So therefore, I would advise the commission to be saying to you that we don't have any way to definitively tell you if you go off of that property. This is under the assumption that you're not just going to stay on established woods roads or the trail network that's on Hunsley Hill.
Correct.
So I don't know whether that's a correct assumption or not.
It is correct. I mainly, I like to be where nobody else is. I like to be off the beaten path. However, I did download a map of the Hunsley Hills area off of your website, and it's perfectly matched to my smartphone. So, and it actually has the contour lines and the
Yes.
boundaries of the state park. And I did spend 2 months in Montana mapping rock formations. So I'm very familiar with contour maps and that sort of thing, elevations. And I'm very capable of reading such a thing. So,
Yes.
and I'm very cognizant of property boundaries.
Smith Lane does not have those same qualities.
Yes. Yep.
Doesn't have the topographic relief,
Mhm,
and it also doesn't have, to my knowledge, any established map. The only map we have on file is a strict boundary survey map, which doesn't.
Well, I also own a handheld GPS device, which allows me to see distance on a map. So, and if I am physically in the area and I know where my boundaries are ahead of time, I can see them on my handheld GPS, and that way I won't stray out of the boundary. I'm very, very cognizant of boundaries. When I do my private land searching, neighbors and so forth, they don't, it's obvious. Have to be very concerned about that sort of thing.
Well, we're just mentioning that.
Oh, for sure, yes.
So if you fall in the bear trap in somebody else's property.
Oh, yeah, no.
you know,
Again, 2 months in Montana in the mountains, so with no, facilities or anything like that. So I'm very capable, and I've never had a liability issue in my past.
The conservation area off Haverhill Street there, I believe, is boundary marked. We paid for that. Judy, do you remember that?
Excuse me?
The conservation area over adjacent to the recreation area behind the police station. Didn't we pay to have all that, those boundary markers?
Well, it is, yeah, I'm not saying that it isn't surveyed and that there aren't some drill holes or some iron rods. What I'm saying, though, is that you would have to be diligently utilizing the survey plan to find those. You're not gonna find any blazes, any little logos or anything else like that that say, municipal property boundary. There isn't any visible, but yes, because you had that survey plan done. You're correct. It appeared that the commission did pay for having a survey plan done where iron rods and drill holes and those things were established, but it's
I will not
it's not a
rely on
straight
those.
rectangle.
Yeah, no.
Well, I'm not saying, I'm
Yeah.
just,
If you get
this
your-
is just for your
Yes,
If you
yes.
get your,
edification.
if you get your hands on the survey plan, which is on record in the Registry of Deeds, you can use that with your GPS to help guide you.
Precisely, yes, yep.
You may or may not find the bounds, but it'll show you
Mhm.
where on the ground they should be.
With the topographic relief at Hunsley, I believe it probably won't be too much of a problem. However, the Smith Lane, I agree, is,
Yeah, it's pretty flat.
yes.
Hunsley has a lot of stone walls because its origin is that it was the commons for pasturing of livestock.
Mhm, mhm.
And so there's a fairly good extensive network, but there's also barbed wire fencing too.
Mhm, mhm.
So be aware of that.
Yep, yep.
All right, I'm not sure what kind of a vote we would take on this. It's a kind of an informal application. Doesn't really fit within anything that's within, the acts we enforce. So what do you think? Just a vote to permit it?
Well, I think so, and based on our understanding that you said that if you do come across anything that you feel is some kind of historic artifact, that you will inform our office.
Yes,
And you're not looking to take possession. I was
I'm not
half-heartedly joking.
yeah.
I was joking that if you come up with a cannonball of old Nancy, you don't want to learn about it on eBay.
No, and it's another thing, even when I find things that aren't of much value, I still prefer not to sell them.
Right.
It's just something I enjoy, and
So do I have a motion to, let's see, approve Mr. Cronenberg's request to use a metal detector on town line as specified?
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All against? And thank you for asking.
well, thank you very much for
Certainly could have
considering.
just done it, but I think it's much more appropriate to have brought it to our attention.
I appreciate that, yeah, I like to do it right. Is there is there a time frame on this permission? Just in case the ground freezes soon and I can't get out till March or April?
But as of
I
now,
think normally we would consider it an annual type thing. Well, the normal term for most things like that is usually for a year.
For you. The summertime is not a great time to hunt poison ivy, tall weeds, grass, things like
Sure.
that, make it very hard. So my main hunting seasons are fall and spring, winter, a little bit, depending on how cold it is.
I don't think we need to put a time limit on it. I mean, unless things change.
yeah, I'm not sure we do.
I can see rings when you pull off your.
I mean, if, as you say, we probably could have done it without our permission. I don't
Yeah,
know if
what's the
we
point?
Put a
Yeah,
time.
well, it's just a question of the activity of doing the probing and where he basically seems to follow sort of golf course protocol, of putting your divots back.
That's a good way of looking at it, I hadn't thought of that yet.
Obviously, if we have an issue, if we observe issues out there, we'll be in touch with you.
For sure.
This
Yeah,
is a
you will not
permission that we
even
can
know I was
retract,
there,
so,
I can
yeah.
tell you that.
Right.
Okay.
And usually the items I remove are no more than 6 inches,
Right.
more along the lines of 3 to 4 inches deep.
Sure. How deep does the sensor go?
It depends.
Depends on the soil.
On the metal, the soil,
Yeah.
a foot, give or take. If it's a massive piece of iron, it'll go lower than a foot, but I won't be digging any massive pieces of iron, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
It can tell me the size and the depth before I dig, which is very convenient, because I'm not, I don't want to, nothing big is coming. I'm not doing any major excavations, just small, very small holes.
You ever find any meteorites?
Not that I have for sure found out are meteorites yet. I have a couple of possibilities. Probably more along the lines of just scrap metal or, nickel, iron, alloy. Probably just scrap. Haven't done any for sure testing yet on the meteorites. But if I had to wager, I'd say probably not.
I would add one more thing. Hunsley Hills area in particular is subject to periodic dumping, and we've had problems with dumping,
Yeah.
both on the Girl Scout property and other places around town,
Which is good,
unauthorized.
you'll
So,
find a lot of junk.
trash is one thing, and you may find old cans and things like that. But if you find any bodies, please know right away.
For sure, yeah, and also another note is any trash I find I do remove.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
We've had a problem, a recurring problem
In
with
the
people
parking lot.
dumping stuff in the parking lot, like
Mhm.
landscape debris. If you see that, please get in touch with us,
Will do,
just
yes.
to alert us.
Yep, yep,
We try to keep an eye on it, but we can't go there every day.
yep.
And-
Every site I go to, anything that comes out of the ground that is not, I usually will save it until I am for sure I know what it is. Even the unlikeliest piece of metal could be something that you don't know what it is until you clean it up and really take a look at it. So never throw anything away until I've for sure 100% I know what it is, and then if it's trash, it's gone. So.
So is your minor in history?
No, that's I love history, but it's not in my school plan at the moment. So
I was just wondering how you were going to tie that into geology, unless you were going for archaeology.
that is correct. Geoarchaeology, yeah, that's kind of the direction I'm headed on this. I did, a couple of cool things. I have found in this area lead bale seals, which are kind of neat. When they brought hay bales to market, they would put a seal on them to signify whose bales were whose, so that people would buy them at auction, and they would crimp a piece of lead around the twine of the bale and imprint the family name on it. And so I have found a couple in this area, Hamilton, Ipswich, lead bale seals, which are really kind of neat and.
Tie it to a family?
I've been trying, but as of yet haven't found what I need to make that connection yet. So, but something like that would make me the happiest. Yeah, I would really be neat. I'd also love to find your wedding ring as well, your wife's wedding ring.
The same kind of crimping is used by banks to secure bags of coin, including Federal Reserve banks. Yeah, so if you find any old bags or have
And also
crimping around,
electric companies as well used lead to signify. Yeah, but there's all sorts of neat stuff like that that you'd never even think of. It's quite interesting. And I will let you know whatever I find.
Great. All right, well, thanks for coming in.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Good luck.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, who seconded that?
I will.
Yeah, did we even vote?
We voted.
Yeah.
What was that?
You voted.
Okay, wake up.
Real easy tonight. You put them in atomic time. Just a robot.
This goes,
Copies,
yeah. So this is the 830 item, a new request for a certificate of compliance, 63-626 at 60 Hillside Street, map 20, parcel 1, lot A, Maureen Basson. Almost, but not quite my neighbor. So this property was before us, what, about a year ago, maybe? I think. And it's right at the corner of Weldon Farm Road and Hillside. And this is the house, and the garage faces Hillside. It's kind of an odd arrangement. And then this is conservation land, starting where the property line is there. And was there a memo for it?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Anybody here on this? You're not?
No.
Okay. And you were out to the property recently, perhaps?
Yep.
I thought you had told me, Brent, when I talked to you the other day, that there were a couple of posts that weren't quite in the right place. Am I getting them mixed up?
Well, the fence was adjusted. The first installation of the fence, there was a much more significant deviation than the little one that exists now. So they corrected it because basically half of it deviated over 5 feet away from where it was supposed to be, and significantly reduced the no-cut area. So I had that corrected once I was made aware of it.
Oh, okay. So this is the as-built with the corrections?
Yeah, with the fence posts that were not in the proper location were relocated.
Okay.
So the fence is much closer to where it is supposed to be. There still is a little tiny deviation towards the street, but I don't consider it, the commission would consider it just de minimis on that. But I've suggested the plans do need some revision to them to make them much clearer in regards to their depiction of a no-cut notice.
And this is Minetta, and
Yeah.
so...
Yeah, so you see there's a couple recommendations, and actually he spoke to me at 5 o'clock today. He already accomplished doing the plan revisions. He was just
Okay.
checking in to see if there was anything else.
Okay.
Yes, so to my knowledge, I didn't have any issues or concerns. I believe I recommended the issuance of the complete certificate with the ongoing conditions, contingent upon revising the plan.
Any questions by commissioners? Anybody have any comments? Seems pretty straightforward. In that case, I need a motion to issue a complete certificate of compliance with the listed ongoing conditions, contingent upon review and approval of the recommended plan revisions within 10 days. Sounds like we'll get them within a day or two. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. And all against? The motion carries.
This was a nice project too. This, if the commission will recall, there were two very large mature eastern white pines that were going to be overhanging this new structure, and they were concerned about that, which was a valid concern in regards to some of the recent storm events we had. So the commission allowed their removal, and they replanted a couple of young saplings, and we established that area as a no cut, no disturb. They did the removal without any stumping or anything like that, so there was no earth disturbance. I've had a similar inquiry recently about the possibility of another project that the commission might see a permit request for that will
What were they
kind of
replanting?
involve the same thing.
What did they replant with?
I believe they planted some red maples.
Maples. Yeah, along that wet side.
Well, actually, it's not entirely clear here, because of course everything's brown right now, but these ribbons are actually hanging on two of the planted, I believe they
Oh.
planted four saplings about 5 to 6 feet in height. They're definitely deciduous.
So now we have status reports and 2 additional requests. What are you here for,
Well,
sir?
Mr. Young is here.
Oh, you're Mr. Young.
Mr.
Well,
Young
we'll
is
do
here
you first.
for-
I think we would anyway, but yeah. I was going to say, we'll do you first, whoever you are. So, this is a follow-up on an enforcement order dated May 10th, 1988. So, Mr. Turner and Ms. Keys, you both signed this order, so I'm sure you remember everything there is to know about it. 26 years later. 25 and a half years, no, 26 and a half years later. Neil Butler was the chairman, I guess. Shows you how many years go by. His son just finished some carpentry on my house. Still lives right down the street from me. So, welcome. This, just to remind everybody, this is the property out on 1A, almost to the Newbury line, across from the so-called
Ye old lemon tree.
the lemon tree property.
Had the wooden plank
Surrounded by a stockade
fencing.
sort of fence for as long as anyone here can remember, I bet. And you decided to take on this project.
Well, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, Michael Young, 759 Main Street. I've only been the owner for, I guess, about 3 weeks. And we've worked very closely with Mr. Bazelak because I inherited this problem, as has been mentioned, of 1988. And as of today, I can say it's been resolved. Mr. Bazelak has been down there to view the property, took pictures of the property, advised me on the removal of it. We had somebody remove it. The dirt has been spread, and today the hay went down.
Okay.
And I think Mr. Bazelak will find that in order. And I know he has given me some information in regards to the seeding in the better weather, and I think that's what we're looking at.
Okay.
So the building gone?
No, the building is still there. I met with the building inspector at one point about that, and I thought until we corrected this issue and until we got through the holidays, we'd have a discussion about that at some other point.
It's just probably no foundation under it, right?
It was just a
It's a
clamshell
cement
check.
slab, yeah.
That's what it looks like, yeah.
Looks a lot better from my drive-by status.
Well, thank you very much. There have been some people who have stopped and commented that. I know they're Raleigh folk, and I don't know who they were, but they mentioned that.
Yeah.
I can say that I was a little nervous about the property because I didn't know really what I was getting into, but I spoke with Mr. Bazelak, and one thing he mentioned to me was that, because I was concerned about what there might be for fines or something of that nature, something that's existed 26 years, and he made a comment that the town wasn't as concerned about that as they were concerned with rectifying the problem.
Right.
And that put me a little bit at ease with that. And I did mention to him that my hope would be that the whole place would look nice when done. And that by that, if you've gone by, as you have and others, a portion of the fence has already been removed, the rest
Right.
will be removed, and things of that nature. And just simply what was there previously, vehicles and household items and all kinds of stuff that just sat on the
They
property.
never did anything with that place. As soon as they bought it, they put that fence up around it and never did nothing with it.
Except dump, apparently.
Well, he was, I think the guy was, one of them was originally gonna be working on cars. He had some nice old cars in there. but
There were
they
some MGs that
rotted up.
he did remove, they were still there. They were still there.
When you bought it, you mean?
No, before I bought it.
No, I mean,
When-
yeah,
Yes,
as part of
yes.
the sale.
Right,
Yeah.
that was part of the agreement, that he had to remove everything, which he did. And there was plows there, there were all kinds of stuff, you couldn't really move in there. So, we're moving in the right direction, I hope.
Do you have any specific plans for it, or it's just?
You know, I really haven't got that far.
Yeah.
My discussions with the building inspector and Mr. Bazelak, I want to have a garage there, and that's all. And when I say garage, not a mechanic's garage, a garage. I live in Newburyport, but I rent 2 storage units for all the stuff that we can't keep. I mean, canoes, kayaks, I have a Jeep. There's just not enough space in your home for that, and that is my intention. There's not gonna be any water there, there's not gonna be any septic, there's not gonna be any gas or oil, it's just gonna be a garage.
The building in good enough shape that you'll keep it, or you think
More
you're
than
probably
likely,
gonna have to
well,
build
more
it?
than likely not. When I
Yeah.
spoke with the building inspector, he said that you'd be able to replace or rebuild with the permission of the conservation officer, Mr. Bazelak. And I'm thinking I'd like to maybe go slightly bigger, but we'll address that after.
One of them.
Yeah. That's my intention with that property, and there's not gonna be any living space. It's not
Yes.
something I could even financially get involved with, so it's not something I have interest in.
Okay.
So you just bought this piece of property, you didn't buy the house across the street?
No, I did not. The gentleman who owns that did come over to speak to me, but I think he told me he was from Maine.
Don't know.
Yeah, I think he told me he was from Maine.
One of the guys who lives here, but the owner is, it's from Newburyport,
Oh, well, maybe,
Bobby Harris. Yeah, is that on a slab?
it is.
There was a mine there. silver mine.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Maybe I should get the metal detector guy back. Because after he finds your ring, I could have him over there and...
Well,
He'd take you up on it, I think. He'd
you're not
probably
gonna
be
go
pretty
too deep
interested.
without a
Help you
good
pay
pump.
for some.
Too bad we didn't do you in the opposite order. though.
Yeah.
You won't go too deep without a good pump, so.
No, that's what, that's the only reason why that mine closed, is because,
Got
the
wet?
water,
Yeah.
yeah. But there was very good ore, yeah.
You may have gotten more valuable property than you think.
Yeah.
Question is, did you buy the mineral rights?
Yes. I don't know how that works.
Once it's
Yeah,
excluded, you
that's
do.
automatic, Massachusetts.
All right, well, what do we need to do? This is.
Well, this is an interesting one,
Interesting
isn't
question, yeah.
it? So I
I
have
think you and I talked about this a little bit.
No, a
What do
little
we
bit,
actually
yeah.
do?
I've had a little time to further contemplate this in terms of us taking action on something that's 26 years old. So I have also provided Commission with an enforcement directive that I did issue on November 17th.
Yep.
It does call for the establishment of vegetative cover, and also requires that it be monitored, making an assumption that it's going to be seeded in this coming spring of 2015, and that therefore we do a midsummer monitoring, and then a fall by September 30th monitoring to see that we actually establish good solid vegetative cover to hold the soils that have recently been graded there, and that Mr. Young has just mulched. And that's pretty much it in terms of ongoing obligations to this. And so I believe what we need to do, because be it 26 years or be it 2 days, we have a valid issued enforcement order according to our file. And so normally, what I would request the commission to do is to vote to confirm amending this May 10th, 1988 enforcement order to include the incorporation of the directive that I've already crafted. In most instances, you're usually directing me to author the directive, but in this case, it was done ahead of time so that Mr. Young could take advantage of the weather conditions and proceed, which is why we've gotten as far as we've gotten. Again, with his great cooperation and his responsibility here of rectifying the insult that was visited on this property 26 years ago. And so therefore I'd recommend that if the commission would so choose, that they would move to amend the 1988 issued enforcement order, incorporating the directive dated November 17th, 2014. And then, like I said, the directive does establish that it needs to be seeded, and that then there needs to be monitoring occurring next year. That monitoring can simply be the taking of a couple of reference pictures from the same spot and sending an email in with those attached, so it's not a huge obligation, a huge homework task, but you probably are very familiar with those things anyway, so I'm sure they won't have any problem.
But you would have my permission to go there at any time?
Well, this establishes
Yeah,
that,
you-
this
well, you have
directive,
that in any case.
this directive
Yeah.
does establish that, just so that we have the ability to make sure that things are proceeding.
So I'm just curious, looking into this. Did you, when you bought it, did you buy it from Gale Doherty?
I did.
Okay. I thought you said it was he. That's the reason I
Well,
wondered.
it's a husband and wife,
Okay.
but it ended up being in her name.
Mhm.
So I actually went to town hall to find out who owned it, and these folks were up in Alton, New Hampshire. And so I kind of just wrote them a letter,
Mhm.
and then I didn't hear for 3 months, so I just assumed the answer was no, they had no interest. And one day a letter arrived, and it was from Bale Doherty, and so so when the closing took place 3 weeks or so
Okay.
ago, it
Yeah.
was a Gale Doherty.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's a husband and wife, Jim and Gail Doherty, but for whatever reasons, it's under her name.
Sure.
But I never dealt with her till that day. Her husband came down and took the stuff away and what have you. I never met her till the closing.
Yep.
Gail can be a woman's name, I mean a man's name.
Yeah, not usually spelled that way, but you're right, it's true.
Spelled different.
So I guess they moved from Cross Street, which is the address here.
I don't think
some
that
long,
address
long
was
time
ever,
ago.
I don't think that address was ever valid.
Okay,
And that was one of the issues that arose. Of course, I have no way of going
Right,
back and finding.
According to the building inspector, that address doesn't exist.
233 Cross.
Right.
I'm not sure Ken Ward was our building inspector in
Oh, wow.
1988, but
Yeah.
Doesn't exist today.
Because
yeah,
I
yeah, definitely
questioned
doesn't exist today.
them both about that, and they claimed they had never received anything, so I don't know if it was a mail error or what, but that address, I guess, does not exist in Raleigh.
Okay.
I
It's
missed,
kind of funny because the assessors had their address because that's how you track them down
Right,
from town
right.
hall.
That's what I found.
So they must have paid the taxes on it, whatever they were.
They were up to date.
Yeah. So they were
I
getting
think in
correspondence.
1988, the commission probably didn't have a competent agent to assist them with some things.
all our agents.
Yeah.
I,
All right.
I might have missed your answer before, but I think someone asked you about whether you were planning on keeping that garage that's there now, or building.
More than likely not keeping it.
Okay, you may want to consider keeping it until after you've submitted the plans.
Oh, absolutely.
It would be in your best interest probably to, if you're going to use the existing footprint, but not take it down till you've got building inspector approval to do it or expand it.
Mhm.
But, you know, your chances of having a building put on there, even if it's with closer than the 25-foot setback from Route 1, will be greatly improved if you use that footprint, in my personal opinion. 'Cause
Yeah, definitely.
Mr. Chairman, I can assure you, I'll be taking the lead of the building inspector, Mr. Bazelak, all the way. But, yes, nothing would even progress that way till sometime after the first of the year. But thank you very much for that recommendation.
Third in the building.
Okay, so I need a motion to amend the enforcement order and incorporate the enforcement directive of November 17th, 2014. I think that's what
Yep.
you said, and that makes sense to me. Do I have that motion? And a second?
I'll second it.
And all in favor?
Aye.
And all against? And the motion carries. And, thank you for clearing up this old problem for us that we probably didn't even really know existed.
Yeah.
Well,
But it is interesting that this
Yeah.
was a valid issued enforcement order, and because the property ownership had stayed the same,
Yep.
there is no statute of limitations on fill under the Wetlands Protection Act. The only way that it might have gone away is if Mr. Young took possession of this and it wasn't communicated or reissued to Mr. Young and 3 years passed.
Mhm.
When ownership changes, you've got 3 years to reacquaint now the new owner with whatever the enforcement matter is. But fill in the wetlands, and under the Wetlands Protection Act, it is a criminal violation. And I think it's either $10,000 or $20,000 a day, supposedly under.
Well, let's see, $10,000 a day times 26 years. That's more than the assessed value of Raleigh property, I bet. Luckily, you're not on the hook.
Well,
Thank you.
again, wasn't anything that we were into.
No, but it is interesting how that worked out. That despite the passage of time, it still came to your attention, just as it should have. All right, you're all set.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Nobody here from Water Department?
No, I actually didn't think they would, to be honest with you.
What's that?
Sooner or later, with the passage of time, all these little situations are
Yeah, the funny thing about that one, and what you said was right, is it's very visible. A lot of these enforcement issues are way back in the offbeat places nobody ever goes, but that one,
Well, until the fence was removed and all the surface
I know.
mulch was removed, it actually wasn't that visible.
I guess
To
in
be
a
honest
sense it
with you.
wasn't, but
When you go by it enough, you know what's in there.
Well,
I had a friend actually look at that piece of property to build a house on it.
yeah.
Someone was trying to sell it to him, and I don't know how he, given what Mr. Young said, I don't know how this friend got a hold of it. Didn't buy it, obviously.
No, I don't, I doubt it would support a septic system, right? Not very much land. Certainly not.
Well,
But
the
the water
place
table's
across
pretty
the street has a holding tank,
Does it?
so you might be able to put a holding tank in it, because I think the size is big enough.
Yeah, that's why
well,
that's why they couldn't expand it into a
but there's not a
restaurant.
100-foot separation to resource areas.
That's right,
there,
that's
so I
what,
don't know
that's what they wanted to do and they couldn't.
Yeah.
That's
Couldn't.
a long
You're
time
right,
ago.
You're right,
I don't know
yeah.
if they could. There's
That's
not
how it
even
got the name,
50-foot
the lemon tree.
separation.
That's why it's called the lemon
Resource
tree
area.
property, right? Because that was the idea
I never
behind
got
it.
out of the car to measure, so.
The bar.
Yeah.
Johnny Station.
Yep.
Are there any other
Stacy.
old silver mine properties in Raleigh?
Yeah, well, yeah, there is some on the marsh out behind me, and then Newbury, when you go down Old Raleigh Road, there's several very good and pretty deep mines.
There's a road in Georgetown called Old Silver Mine Road.
Goes right off Scotland Road, that mine's still there.
Hmm.
You know, behind what used to be Mr. Cunningham's property, towards the Western Division.
Something Benedict Road too, was that nickel or something else?
No, there was some,
Something.
yeah.
All right, well, the 850 item, almost exactly on time, is a request for an emergency certificate to perform road work on Pingree Farm Road private way easement by the Raleigh Water Department, Mary Beth Weiser, Water Superintendent. And we have a memo from you, Brent, but we do have,
Not a memo, you should have a copy of,
somewhere, there it is.
letter that,
Emergency supervision.
well, I had emailed, I think, around the letter, and yes, I did make a copy of the
Oh, all right.
proposed emergency.
Yeah, I just thought I had the letter from her too. Maybe I just read it over.
Yeah, it was
This afternoon.
provided by email the other day.
Right, okay.
I received it.
So, no memo, right? So, your thoughts on this? We'll start with that.
Well, okay, so the letter dated December 1st addressed to Doug Watson as chairman is, I am requesting an emergency permit for the temporary resurfacing of Pingree Farm access road to the new water treatment plant. Conditions of the existing road have deteriorated and has become unsafe for passage for bulk chemical deliveries and for the tanker trucks and others. These chemical companies may at some point refuse to deliver to us due to the unsafe access road. If we are unable to receive deliveries, we will have to take the plant offline. Scope of work for the project is, number one, install 25 feet of straw wattle on each side of the road for a culvert crossing. Number two, subgrade Pingree Farm Road. And number three, supply and spread 8 triaxle loads of natural 1.5" packed and compact. I believe the 1.5" material is either called lens pack, it's I think it's crushed stone or not quite stone dust, but it's a natural gravel material. So the reason for this request is because the pothole and deteriorating uneven surface of the roadway, the hazardous deliveries of some of the chemicals, chlorine, etc., going in there, the delivery truck drivers who bear the responsibility of safely delivering the load and compliance with all standards for carrying hazardous materials, they also have the authorization and capabilities of refusing to deliver to a facility if they believe that the roadway conditions are providing an unstable transit for them, and that they might tip over or they might lose control and go off the road. So this is a legitimate situation. Now, it was contemplated to file with the commission for a permit to upgrade the roadway surface, but it was not anticipated that this was going to happen that soon. And the recent rain events that then went right to freezing temperatures or whatever have exacerbated the deterioration of the roadway. And it's basically just a dirt easement road that goes in there.
That was your last file.
Yeah.
Well, this road has to be plowed in snow to keep it open for deliveries, right? So it's gonna be going through a lot more wear and tear
Right.
as a gravel roadway.
Right, so this is to temporarily to grade what's there, flatten it out, and then provide a more stable surface that is anticipated to last until spring, where we can contemplate that we, more than likely, in the first part of next year, will be receiving a permit that will be
Oh, it's
for
an
the
interim.
actual upgrade of the roadway, which is contemplated to include paving.
Yeah, it's an interim upgrade.
That was my only concern, is why are we doing this on an emergency basis? It seems like something that could have been anticipated, but now you've explained
Yeah,
the nature
yeah,
of the
no,
problem.
legitimately, this has come up and become an issue quicker than it was contemplated that it was going to be.
Well, we don't want chlorine trucks tipping over on Pingree Farm.
No, and they get deliveries of other things
I know.
too, so it's actually, the road gets more traffic than I was made aware, not that I ever asked this specific question, but I did ask once this came to light. Now, my understanding is that Pingree Farm Road is a private way. The plans that I've located in the files have it labeled that way. And I checked with the town administrator, so our understanding is that the water department was issued an easement, and I believe she copied us recently there was an expansion to increase the turning radius coming off of Haverhill Street, so there was a renegotiated expansion of the easement, and so she provided what I believe is a copy of that, was attached to her letter, basically demonstrating that the town water department, and therefore the town, does have the ability to maintain this access easement. But the town does not own this right of way. The understanding from the town administrator is that the abutting property owners own to the midpoint.
Right.
And that's, so.
But they have the right to pass and repass, and
Yeah, well, I'm not sure what their specific, but the water department,
I mean,
the town and
we-
the water
yeah.
department
Town.
have the ability to
No,
use
that's what
this
I
as
mean.
an access way,
So it's a
to have
permanent
underground
easement.
utilities, yes.
and the easement is a right to pass on it,
Yeah,
and along with the right to pass on it is the right to maintain it.
yes.
Just, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's
As long as
actually, I think,
understand
a
it,
little
so.
bit more explicitly spelled out. in the
But even if it weren't spelled out, that would be true.
Right.
Because it'd be a meaningless right if you couldn't maintain it.
It's kind of like Conley's.
Yeah,
It is.
exactly.
Easements exist all over the place.
Yeah.
Um,
So I'm just expressing that
Okay,
so that there's a clear understanding of, where the request is coming from, where the authority to make this request, and therefore where the commission has the authority to contemplate issuance of this emergency certification, which would only be good for 30 days. I've proposed a starting date of December 4th, which would then give it an ending date of January 3rd, 2015. They are contemplating doing
should
the
freeze
work
well.
as soon as possible
Yeah.
because of
Hold it
the
up for a
deteriorating
while.
conditions.
How many truckloads did you say?
Her letter says 8.
I thought it said 81 in the email.
No, I thought it said 8.
Well,
Well,
Either
hopefully
was-
it
either
was
was
a
a
straight,
typo or
hopefully it was a
enormous
straight
amount.
copy.
Sure was on fly?
8 triaxle loads, I think is what she said.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I did propose on the second page, I proposed some special conditions.
Yep, I was just looking at those.
This was just done today, I honestly haven't even had a chance to acquaint Ms. Weiser with this, but I don't think there's anything here that anyone should take exception to. There actually is a DEP Mass Unpaved Roads Best Management Practices Manual that I have that has a date of 2001, but I just said it, or as amended in case it had been amended more recently. And then state that all erosion controls shall be correctly installed and maintained. Inspection shall occur after any precipitation event, and additional erosion control materials shall be available. And that's meant to say on site at all times, and there's a typo there.
So how long is it supposed to take?
Well, this can only take 30 days.
Right,
There's
but
a-
they don't. So if
They
you're
don't
gonna go out there and
anticipate this
inspect.
taking any long, no, this is for them, this is their
Oh,
obligation.
okay.
Once the erosion control is installed, they need to inspect it.
Got it.
Yeah, no, these are special conditions for the water department or their subcontractors. As I said.
This is under the DEP.
Right, we're
That
issuing.
30-day restriction is the DEP's, not ours.
It's a WPA.
Well,
yeah,
it's
right.
ours too, because we have never codified anything different. We are using the emergency certification procedures that exist under the Wetlands Protection Act, and so we're following that because we've never passed anything or codified anything any different.
Well, form says, I'm sorry to be picky about this, it says no work may be authorized beyond 30 days from the date of this certification without written approval of the department. Emphasis supplied. That seems a little onerous to me, and I would think without written approval of you would be much more satisfactory. This is a bad time of year, and you could get a period of time with extended periods of bad weather where they may not be able to do this in 30 days. It just would seem to cry out for a little more flexibility here, but anyway.
They can always come back to.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, the normal procedure would be for them just to come back to us.
But it sounds to me like they're
Documenting
gonna
whatever.
They're gonna do it day after tomorrow, right? Basically, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It
They're not gonna
shouldn't
waste
take-
time.
Yeah,
8
well,
loads.
they
That
can't-
shouldn't take more than a day or two to get in place.
Afford to, actually,
Right.
to be quite honest.
Get a big storm in there.
You just have to grade it, put it down, compact it, it should be done.
Yeah, and roll.
Yeah, roll it, that's it.
This is almost exactly the same process that they use to do the access road from the plant that crosses our conservation open space to Pingree Farm Road. And that was done in 3 days. And actually, the only reason it took them, the only reason it took them 3 days was because I went out there and found out they'd started to do it without having the erosion controls
right,
functioning next to it.
So they lost a day, basically.
I don't
Lost a
believe
few
so.
hours,
With me,
but
they
yeah.
only lost a couple of hours.
All right, this all sounds reasonable to me. What do I need, a motion to approve?
Motion
the-
to issue.
Motion to issue the
Issue
emergency
as-
certification. That's the, yes, motion to issue an emergency issue an emergency certification in accordance with the certification form special conditions stated therein.
So moved.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All against? And the motion carries. I think just I have to sign that, but we might as well all sign it.
No, I think we should all,
Yeah.
I think we should all sign, or at least a quorum.
Yep, actually, I think the way these work, you can sign it if it's really, it's a crisis.
Yeah, technically I can issue them and
Right.
bring it to the commission and get it ratified.
Right.
Or confirmed, whatever phraseology you want to use. That is correct. My normal procedure would be to consult with the chairman and vice chair.
They're rather good today.
cookie time. Cookie time, usually so.
Everybody's raving about them, so I'm gonna have to try one now.
Did the guy next to the post office go out of business?
Who's that?
The bakery there?
No, Raleigh bread there?
Gosh, I hope not.
No. I went to the post office recently and, was gonna go get a muffin. Walked up tight.
Doug the baker, yeah. I hope not.
He usually sticks a note in the door, he sometimes does have to go to appointments or whatever. Okay, thank you.
Right, the last item on the agenda is the 9 o'clock item, a request for certificates of compliance, 63-248 at 39 Haverhill Street, map 15, parcel 41, lot 2, Raymond L. Iacobacci, I think it was. Iacobacci. Is that what it was? Iacobacci?
I think so.
And 63-249 at 43 Haverhill Street, map 15, parcel 41, lot 3, Raymond L. Iacobacci. I don't remember this property at all. So
Well,
remind us.
no, this is one of these long ongoing things. Notice of violation letters is actually a third order that's involved in this.
39 Haverhill.
I issued notice of violation letters June 26, 2014. What you have before you tonight are two orders that were never commenced, were never built or constructed. And then one of them, the 43 Haverhill Street, that was a new lot that was created, and that did and does have a house that was constructed on it. When it came time for it to be constructed, though, the order of conditions that you're addressing tonight had expired, and so therefore that's why we're declaring it invalid. But he still has, he hasn't been diligent in reacting to my letters, and therefore when he came in today, because the building inspector will not issue him a certificate of occupancy. And he came in today and he had an as-built plan that wasn't stamped. He had no letter from a professional engineer talking about any possible deviations, and so therefore I was unable to assist him any further with that particular one. But we did fill out the paperwork for the two requests that you have before you tonight. The one for 39 Haverhill Street this is adjacent to the property where Curly's Marina stores boats. Okay, and this house and this driveway, originally there was an old order of conditions, was it 1980? 1998, the 100-foot buffer zone extends in arcs like this, and this driveway was originally configured to be right parallel to the new lot, new house, new driveway. And therefore, for whatever reason, there was an order that covered the driveway. As you can see, it was not built and was not constructed within an area subject to the commission's regulation. So therefore, that's why I'm presenting a verbal recommendation to you tonight to vote to issue a certificate of compliance declaring this invalid, because it was issued and it was recorded, so.
And that's the only jurisdictional?
That is the only
On
jurisdictional area on this lot that
Really?
that order governed.
Okay.
But this is only 39 Haverhill Street.
So what you were just talking about is this one, 41?
Yes, yeah.
That's the
Do
one.
you want to deal with?
Well, I just want to,
Okay.
what you started with,
Okay.
telling us about was the one where he's looking for
Right, well, I wanted to let you know, in case you had a recollection, that there is a third order involved with this, a newer one, that governed the construction of this house
Okay, all right.
and this driveway, and puts a no cut, no disturb posts along here, because this is all bordering vegetated wetlands. This actually connects into the stream that goes over to Mr. Schmidt's property.
There's a for sale sign somewhere down around one of these two driveways.
Yeah, he's been trying to sell this. I don't know that it's been sold, but something must be going on, because he's looking for the building inspector to issue an occupancy permit for it.
So that's new construction now.
That's new construction, but it's been sitting there for at least 4 to 5 years.
Yes. Anytime.
Actually, I didn't bring the file in for it. Been there
So
for
you
a
must
while.
have just never finished it. Huh, okay. All right, so for 39, you're recommending simply declaring the,
Vote to declare this particular order invalid,
because
it was never commenced.
declare the order invalid, okay, I follow, because it was never commenced and the as-built reveals no.
Well, there
jurisdic-
isn't,
Well,
no, I'm just doing things by the aerial photo
Yeah.
and
You're-
and actually visiting the site. and-
Your inspection indicates no jurisdictional
Right, because I have the,
to the, I follow. Okay, so on 39,
here, I can show you. See, this is how
yeah,
they were supposed to be in parallel up here.
This
Here's
is
the
the
100-foot
wetlands.
buffer zone, here's the intermittent stream down here, here's the bordering vegetated wetlands that throws the buffer zone up here. And these two driveways were almost supposed to have common terminus or frontage onto Haverhill Street, and the property boundary is right there.
So they did it to stay out of it.
Well, this driveway actually got
It was
put
over
over
there,
here.
Hmm.
Stayed right out of our jurisdiction on this lot, so that's why the order is now invalid.
wonder why they didn't do it that way in the first
Yeah,
place.
why
right?
didn't- Exactly.
If they had that ability,
Yeah,
eh,
and I don't see why they wouldn't have, they frontage enough, I guess, or else they wouldn't have done it. Can't really tell. Okay, so anyway, so this is, and that's 39 Haverhill Street.
That is correct.
I would want a motion to, let's see, declare the order of
We're
conditions.
issuing a certificate of
Yeah,
compliance,
issue a certificate of compliance
For-
declaring the,
declaring
The-
63-248 invalid, that it never commenced.
248, yes, 248, invalid because work never commenced, and, yeah, okay. Do I have that motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
I,
Aye. All against, and the motion carries. That's that. Okay, now,
Let's,
Non-compliant certificate of compliance.
that's right. Legal fiction.
We gotta get a tax on boats parked over Well, we gotta be able to tax boats that are stored over the winter, just like taxing.
Personal property
School
tax.
buses at the garage.
Taxing boats in the harbor in summer.
July 1st, wherever they are, July 1st.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
So if you don't have your boat in the water by July 1st, you pay a different town.
Right.
Okay. Oh, yeah, if you don't have it in the water by
Get
July
you.
1st, you shouldn't have a boat anyway. Right? Time to sell the boat.
even my predecessor had marked this expired. So on 43 Haverhill Street,
Yeah,
for order of conditions 63-249, again, the same request is made to issue a certificate of compliance declaring this invalid because this particular order was never implemented or built because it expired, and we required Mr. Ikabachi to file for a new order, which was subsequently issued.
Okay, so 63-249 is invalid, but there is a subsequent order that is still valid.
Yes.
He also wants a certificate of compliance. for
Yeah,
that.
but he's got
He's
to
got some
get
more-
Things to
a
get
got some more
done.
paperwork.
corrected as-built plan
Okay,
and a letter from the engineers.
Yep.
And then I gotta do an inspection, that kind
Right.
of stuff.
okay.
So we're gonna do the same with this.
So I would
Pardon me?
want, you do the same
So
thing.
with this, you're doing
Motion.
the same thing you just did, just declaring it invalid.
So it's a motion to issue a certificate of compliance declaring the order of conditions 63-249 invalid.
Yes.
Okay. Is there a motion?
So move.
And a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All against? And the motion carries. And that's all we can do for him tonight, right? Because he
All we can
doesn't
do
have a
tonight,
plan.
yes.
See him in January, I guess. so.
Looks like it stopped snowing, didn't it?
Yeah.
Again, just to let the commissioners know, on June 6, 2014, he was issued detailed letters on each of these explaining what needed to be done.
Each of these, or the, what do
Each,
you mean?
for each order, that there was a status of it being in violation. He was issued a separate notice of violation letter detailing the steps to.
Which I just wonder why you say each. I thought there was one order.
No, technically there's three. You've dealt with two tonight.
Yes.
The two
One
that
that's
could be
still-
declared invalid.
Okay, but there's
The
one
one
still
that was
outstanding.
actually implemented.
Right. And he has had his instructions for a while on that.
That's what I'm trying to convey. Yes, it's had basically 6 months in written,
Not gonna,
well, I just,
I'm
you
not
know,
gonna entertain a certificate of compliance without an engineer's letter or a stamped plan. I mean, that's really our only protection on that.
understood. But all of a sudden, something's initiated his attention to these premises.
Did you sign Terry down?
Yep.
Money. Archie needs kids sometime.
Let's see.
I don't know.
Thank you very much.
Just me.
Or something more south.
I don't know. He probably knows.
Yeah.
We ask him when he comes in. Okay, that's it? That's all you got? All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So,
And second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All the song that goes, botch me, I botch you, everything goes crazy. Makes sense now,
Yeah.
35 years later.
Now you finally figured it out.
But that's where the word bus comes from, to kiss, to bus.
Yes.
Variation of that.